We went to play the Chicago Bears. John came in for his first NFL live action. And then he fired one in out in the right flat, and it was complete for a 56-yard touchdown to J.C. Caroline, who happened to be the Chicago Bears defensive back.
J.C. Caroline intercepts this one. And here he is bringing the ball back.
And that was his first completed pass.
In 1963, Caroline's role on the team changed, thanks to second-year player Benny McRae, number 26.
Benny McRae took over for J.C. Caroline. I remember when he won the job, an exhibition game in Washington, the Redskins had Bobby Mitchell, and they must have thrown the ball to him about 13, 14 times because he was against this kid, Benny McRae, and Benny shut him down.
McRae played 9 seasons for the Bears and had 27 interceptions. His 6 interceptions in 1963 were good for third best in the secondary. The other starting corner in 1963 was Dave Witzel, number 23.
Dave Witzel was more guts than talent. Real tough, scrappy guy. You would talk to him before a game and say, Davey, you're facing Max McGee this week. I got him in my pocket. You know, he would talk like that.
Dave Witzel gambled a lot, had a lot of confidence in himself, but he always came up with a big play.
In the game that clinched the conference championship in '63, he made the key interception, I think, against Detroit.
Witzel was the real catalyst of the defense that year, throughout the year, because every great defense has a guy that's an interceptor and a guy that gambles and takes chances, and he was that guy.
Witzel could afford to take chances due to the immense talent of the team's starting safeties.
It's intercepted by Roosevelt Taylor. Looks like he's in the open.
Roosevelt Taylor finished second on the team in 1963 with 8 interceptions. But Taylor's prowess was not limited to just takeaways.
Rosie Taylor intercepted passes and stuffed the run. I've heard people tell me that he was as good as anybody that played at the time, Willie Wood or any of these guys that became Hall of Famers.
With the Eagles threatening late in the game, Rosie Taylor, number 24, took the steam out of them by intercepting a sneak pass on his 4-yard line and returning it 96 yards for a touchdown.
Taylor made first-team All-Pro and the Pro Bowl in 1963, and he was still the second-best safety on his team. That leads us to the second member of our all-time Bears secondary, safety Richie Pettibone.
Pettibone was a big guy for the time. He was about 6'3", 220, which would be big now for a safety.
Pettibone could attack the line of scrimmage and cover. He was the first in a long line of Bears safeties who could knock you out or pick off a pass.
It's in the end zone. It is batted up in the air by Pettibone. Richie takes it, intercepts in the end zone, and that kills that drive.
Pettibone revolutionized the way the position is played.
Richie Pettibone was the prototype of the strong safeties. Great strong safety, very smart guy.
Pettibone made 4 Pro Bowls in his career and was named an NFL All-Pro in 1963. He ranked second on the Bears' all-time interception list with 37. The 2 men we chose to be starting cornerbacks on our all-time team are both Hall of Famers, George McAfee and Red Grange. Both players are more well-known for their offensive prowess, but both also ended up being stellar defensive players.
In the mid-1920s, the name Red Grange was synonymous with football in the same way that Babe Ruth was synonymous with baseball.
He was this enormous star, and he became an enormous star because of the media that was available that covered his games and that brought his games into Americans' consciousness everywhere.
After wowing the nation during 3 All-American seasons at the University of Illinois, Red Grange decided to turn pro. Grange's career changed forever during one game in Chicago.
In 1927, I went up for a pass and came down and caught my cleat in the sod, and I injured my knee. I didn't think I would ever play football again.
Grange sat out a year of football to let his knee heal. He wanted to return to Chicago. Could he regain his speed? Chicago's owner did not waver.
And George Halas was all for this. But when he did play, what he found in effect was he became one of the great defensive backs in the history of the game.
We were playing a game, and he wasn't starting. He was standing on the sideline, and Halas said, whenever we go on defense, Red, I want you to go in.
The New York crowd started chanting that they want Grange. They got him. He came back and returned an interception for a touchdown, and so I'm sure that those New York fans were a little questioning as to why they wanted to see Grange that well.
In 1933, the Bears played the Giants for the championship, and again, Grange put his imprint on history.
The game had been a seesaw game throughout, and the Bears were clinging to a narrow margin as the game wound down to the final seconds. The Giant quarterback launches this pass, back catches this pass, and has the Giants center, who's Mel Hine, right behind him. And there's only one defender, so this is going to be a victory if this defender cannot do something. Now, the problem for this defender, who is Red Grange, is he realized that as soon as he hits the ball carrier is going to lateral over to the man following him for New York, and he's going to be out of luck.
I was the only one in front of the ball carrier and the goal, and Mel was right behind him, and I knew if I tackled him that he was going to lateral the ball to Mel, and instead of tackling him, I put my arms around him and grabbed the ball and held the ball so he couldn't throw it. And that was about 10 seconds before the end of the game.
Grange makes perhaps one of his great plays of his entire career, and the ball carrier hits the ground. About 5 seconds later, the whistle blows, and the game is over, and the Bears are champions.
I still say it was the greatest football game that I ever saw or ever participated in.
Tim Mara, who was certainly the Giant owner, said it was one of the greatest plays he had ever seen.
Although he reached icon status in his own era, Grange himself had his own ideas on how he would like to be remembered.
I like to be remembered that I was a good citizen. I never cheated anybody. I paid my taxes. I voted. And I took care of my family. And I was honest. And that's the way I like to be remembered. I think that if I'm remembered as a good, honest guy, that's the way I want it.
Our other cornerback was also well known for his electrifying athletic ability.
We had a back named George McAfee, and he was spectacular. As a running back, there may never have ever been one any more elusive than he was. He'd catch a punt or he'd run in play, and he'd run for a touchdown. And they started to call him One-Play McAfee.
And the greatest compliment Halas said he could give Gale Sayers during the height of Sayers' career was that compare him with George McAfee.
After the Eagles selected McAfee with the second pick in the 1940 draft, Halas traded for him. In 1941, McAfee was named to the official All-NFL team. Because of commitments to the Navy, McAfee played only 6 full seasons. But in 75 games for Chicago, One-Play McAfee intercepted 25 passes. In the 1940 championship game, George McAfee intercepted a pass and returned it for a touchdown, as the Bears beat the Redskins 73-0.
A lot of people said it was the T formation that did it. T formation didn't have anything to do with it. It was their defense that intercepted 8 passes, ran 4 of them back for touchdowns, and then scored after the other 4 interceptions.
The Bears' historic win showed Halas's gift for innovation. Offensively, he had enlisted the help of University of Chicago coach Clark Shaughnessy to bring back the T formation. In 1951, Halas hired Shaughnessy to help revolutionize the defense.
Clark Shaughnessy didn't even have the title defensive coach. He wanted to be known as a technical advisor. He didn't get along with a lot of the other assistant coaches, including one of his assistants, a guy named George Allen. He didn't even talk much with Halas. He was an independent operator, but he ran very complex defenses. When Halas saw that those defenses were not working too effectively, Halas gradually phased in Allen. Shaughnessy was on the staff into the 62 season, midway in the season, when he saw that he was being phased out, he disappeared.
In 1963, George Allen's defense allowed just 10 points per game, and the Bears finished the season with just one loss. In the NFL championship game, they forced Giants Hall of Fame quarterback Y.A. Tittle into the worst performance of his career. An interception by linebacker Larry Morris set up the Bears' first touchdown. Later, Morris got through on a blitz, hit Tittle low, and temporarily knocked him out of the game.
I remember the quarterback that came in for him was a kid by the name of Glenn Griffey. I don't know where the hell he played college. And he came in, I think it was the first play, if you look at the films. I hit him low and Doug hit him high, and this guy went, squealed like a pig. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a nice day. Until Tittle came back. Then we had to suit up again.
The Giants led by 3 late in the third quarter.
I said to Y.A. Tittle there, stay out, okay? You don't have to play anymore. We got them. They can't score on us.
It was up to the Bears' defense. And again, the unit delivered.
And it was a perfect situation, and Joe Fortunato called the defense, and he said, OB, watch for the screen. And he started dropping back. I flared out and put my left hand up, and the ball stayed in my hand, and I got down to about the 11-yard line, which eventually turned out to be the winning touchdown.
With 10 seconds left, Richie Pettibone grabbed Chicago's 5th interception of the day to clinch the victory. George Halas won the championship, his last as head coach. George Allen, his defensive assistant, got the game ball.